But I'm looking at these people going, man, if they're struggling, I've got no chance, but I'm just not going to quit. Part of that characteristic that we're looking for is somebody that against all odds will just keep going. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Everybody talks about having a why and stuff like that. Like, I didn't have a why. I didn't have anything. I think I just survived. I really did.
Welcome to the show, brother. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you, the invite coming on.
Well, I tell you what, I've known of you guys. I've known your show for a few years now. When I couldn't place it first in memory, but I'm pretty sure I interviewed your co-host Aaron. And so I look back. I tried doing all the searches, YouTube podcasts, and try to find Aaron Hale plus Aaron and Aaron. One's ready. All that couldn't find anything. uh, the only clue, like I know it's like it's one of those things, the pesky things. Like I know where I place that pocket knife. Where the hell did it go?
Oh yeah.
In my inbox from way back, there's a Zoom email notification that says that your intro, like your recording is done uploading to the cloud, and it has Aaron, name on the title. I'm like, I knew it.
I knew I
Where
actually
the hell did it go?
You know what, Aaron, I'll stick to the, hey, he just did a terrible job because he's just not very articulate. And, you had to delete the episode, really.
He's your co-host. I mean, you couldn't have found a better partner.
Hey, listen, man, he's getting asked to come on Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax. Like he's everywhere right now. So there's no way I can keep up with that.
Speaking of getting invited on the shows, I was invited on to uh, Fox with by my friend, fellow EOD tech, Johnny Joey Jones, for a 4th of July thing. And those guys, he's really good at it too. He throws out uh, those questions that are so kind of vague and open ended. You're like, I don't even know how to answer that. And it
And
was one of those things. It was one of those things like, uh, do you think there's still reason to be patriotic today?
jeez, talk about putting you on the spot too, huh?
Yeah, I'm in the Fox News. I'm in New York City and the studio, and I'm going, does not compute.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet.
I didn't know what to answer. I'm like, founding fathers and send the British back across the pond, and I don't know what I said, but it was stupid.
Yeah, well, hey, out of
And
all the things we say, I mean, you've got your own podcast, we've got our own podcast. The amount of stuff that we say, and then people will bring up, hey, I can't believe you said that, or that was really dumb, or hey, I love the way you said that. I'm like, dude, I don't remember saying any of that. I really don't.
at least when it's my show, I can say we can cut that out in post production.
Yeah.
I don't in the Fox studios. I'm like, can you cut that out? Can I try that again? Let's do it. Take two.
No, that's live.
Uh, so, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. So
Uh,
I was born and raised there. Yeah.
you military family?
Uh, I mean, we have military in my family, like my grandfather, my uncle, my cousin, my younger brother, and my actually, I guess both of my cousins um, were a mixture of Navy, Marines, and Air Force. But my parents weren't military or anything like that. So I don't know where that lineage stops to where you're actually, no kidding, from a military family, but there was definitely family members that were military, and it was influenced, and I joined mainly because of my older cousin. Just I loved whenever he would come back, and I was still in high school. He would come back from visit during the summer and stuff like that. And he just has stories, and they're funny, they're good stories, and I was just like, man, that would be awesome to be part of that. And I always, wanted to do action guy stuff, chase the
What did he
adrenaline.
do?
What's that?
What did he do in the military?
So he was an F-18 Wizzo guy that sat in the back seat of an F-18.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, so what did what led you to the Air Force? And didn't you switched right in the pipeline, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. So I checked out everybody in terms of, whether it was Coast Guard rescue swimmer
You're
or
the
Navy
guy.
SEAL, Army Ranger.
Hmm.
I checked out all the recruiters. I did my due diligence for that. But when I came in, it was in order to be a Green Beret, you had to do another job first. They didn't have the 18 X-ray series or
Mm.
program rather. So you had to do another job, and then after a couple of years, then you could try out. SEALs, it was the same thing. You had to go do something else, and then you'd have to try out. The Air Force was the only one that right off the street, I didn't have to do any other job. I could come straight in. I could go into selection, into the pipeline, and I was guaranteed to go to free fall school, dive school, airborne, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? That sounds perfect. Let's do that because Green Berets, they don't always go to a jump team or a dive team or something like that. Some
Hmm.
guys are able to get all of it, but for the most part, that's not the case. So I was like, yes, sign me up. And my recruiter and I only knew about pararescue. Um,
There's like EOD, at least in 2007, when I tried to go from cook to bomb tech. They're like, we're not taking cooks into the program. But okay, but when did you decide that wasn't for you, and it jumped to switch to combat controller?
Well, so what happened was in the pipeline, it was, and I can't remember, it was probably midway through, and pararescue has always had phenomenal recruiting, right? They don't really hurt on numbers because everybody loves a hero, everybody wants to go save people, and it's a sexy mission and that kind of stuff. Um, and so pararescue and combat control were going through the same selections at the time, and we called it NDOC. And there was only a very few combat controllers trainees there. And so all the combat control instructors were really frustrated, going like, we've got to help our recruitment numbers, and we got people here that the recruiters and these candidates, they had no idea what combat control was or that it even existed. Only PJ. So they came in, they gave us a brief on like, hey, what each job does, and let us, touch radios and all that kind of stuff, and explain
Hmm.
what they did. And they said, hey, this is your one opportunity to switch if you want to. You'll continue, the pipeline and selection because we went through together, but this is your one chance to swap. And there was a handful of us that decided to leave the pararescue trainee and become combat controllers. And then I'm pretty sure that every single one of us that swapped ended up being combat controllers.
Yeah, I had Dave Burke from Echelon Front on back in December 2025, and he went from you know stick jockey in the Marines to doing a stint in Ramadi with Jocko as a
Ooh.
controller. So yeah, he said it was an incredible experience. Um, what surprises did you find just going through the training? Was there anything that you hadn't expected, or maybe something you learned about yourself?
I think the surprise, I always thought I could do it, but I had never really tested myself. I grew up playing soccer. I like to work. I grew up, my childhood was fantastic. We weren't wealthy or anything like that. We were probably lower middle class, but it was both of my parents were married and very supportive, and so, but I was never really tested. And um, so one thing is I didn't realize how homesick I would get when I left, like
Hmm.
severely homesick. I left when I was 17, and I was extremely homesick. So I wasn't expecting that. Um, the other part is I wasn't expecting how mentally tough I was at the time, considering how young I was, because I would be there in selection with 120 other people, at least on day one, and I'm surrounded by everybody that's older than me. Everybody's better developed, in terms of skeletal and physical. They've got, they got years on me, and I'm a little guy. They've got years on me in terms of growing muscle and stuff like that. And they all seem very mature and had, in my opinion, seemed like they had a good beat on what was going on and what was happening. And I'm the new guy straight out of basic training that's 17, 18 years old, going, oh boy, I've gotten myself into something that I have no business being in. But then as every evolution and every day would go by, less and less or more and more people would end up quitting and leaving. And these are people that I was looking at going like, dude, I have no chance. And I get it. It's not a competition. Selection is it's about what you're able to do. But I'm looking at these people going, man, if they're struggling, I've got no chance. But I'm just not going to quit. And then soon all those people start quitting and leaving. And I'm like, and it took a couple of weeks. And finally I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I've got something that I wasn't expecting or I didn't know. And maybe I do belong here instead of someplace else. So that's really what I learned about myself.
What do you attribute that to? The is that you saw you saw people with natural talent and ability or physical prowess quitting, uh, where you might have been lacking physically, height, stature.
Hmm.
So what did you have that they didn't, or what did you find was the missing element?
Um, well, the we like to say that the pipeline, or at least selection, is 80% mental and 20% physical, because the amount of mind games that are, and I say I'm using quotes mind games, right? But you got to understand that everything is for a reason that the cadre are putting in there. Like, we are trying to test you mentally, physically. Do you have the grit that when you have to go for an unknown distance for an unknown amount of time with an unknown weight, will you keep going and going and going, regardless of what's going on around you? And I don't know. I don't know what that is or what you call. I guess you'd call it grit. But one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, or not trying to figure out, but we're trying to harness and better articulate is, how do you build that? Because that seems like it's something that a lot of people want. They want the grit, but they're struggling to try and find it. And for me, growing up, it just kind of boiled down to work ethic, right? I would work and work and work, regardless of how tired I am, and then I'd go play basketball with my dad, or go practice soccer, and then play games, and it's just constantly moving. And maybe that's a curse. I don't know, because I still have a problem just sitting still.
Me too. You should see the house right now. I've got like 10, halfway finished projects.
Oh yeah,
I'm start one thing and I'm totally into it, and then like the boys want to do like a frozen smoothie pop stand, like a lemonade stand. So okay, let's go do that. And
yep.
I got three boys. There's always something going on.
Oh yeah,
It,
yeah. You're busy, I'm sure.
well, most of the time I'm chasing them around and picking their messes, or
Yeah.
But there's one thing I learned from my military training is that calisthenics are a great training aid.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of wall sits while I talk. Yeah, a lot of planks. Yeah, butter kicks. It's like basic training around here most of the time.
Well, I
Uh,
used to, whenever we'd go to Starbucks or a bakery or something like that, and the kids wanted a cake, a cake pop or a donut or something like that, like I'd have them do 10 or 15 squats, air squats in the store, in front of people, and the looks that I got were just like horrifying. That I would make my kids do physical activity to earn a donut or a cake pop or something like that. I'm like, it's not a big deal, guys. They're just doing some air squats and then they get to have it. I don't see the issue.
there was, it wasn't very long ago. There was some kind of a TikTok video of a stepdad um, having his it was like a teen stepson doing a bunch of squats or something, burpees. I don't know what it was. I'm blind. Uh, but he took the video and he was firm with him. I think it was about talking back to his mom.
Mm,
But at the very end, he's like, you know why we did that, right? And he's like, yes. And he said, love you. And the son said it first. I don't, but it was nothing bad. The son understood, and the stepdad was respectful, all of that, and it was about training respect in to for his mom, and that blew up on the internet. Uh, all the negative commentary about that, like what happened to us?
yeah. What do you think that is it, that we have gotten so soft that a little bit of physical exertion to do something, or whether it's to gain something, a donut, a cake pop or something like that, or hey, you disrespected your mom, you're going to do some push-ups. Like I don't know.
There's a whole lot down that rabbit hole. Actually, you have a very unique perspective, having spent much of your career in the on the training side, and pushing through the next generation of controllers, and with ones ready that you're still doing that. So
Yeah.
you field questions from your audience, your followers, and you answer those kind of questions. You get those questions that are like, why did you even ask that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We get tons of those questions, and it's as much as I would love to, just copy and paste, or we've remade the same, frequently asked questions videos multiple times, and it whatever. I don't mind it because hey, if people viewed or looked at the back catalog, then I wouldn't need to make any more episodes or or do anything like that. So whatever, they keep me doing podcasts. But um, yeah, it's an interesting thing that we're kind of going through right now, and I know that you mentioned it in terms of next generation and stuff like that, and everybody, all the older generation seems to be poo-pooing on the next generation, and I think that's it's banter or whatever. You're supposed to crap on the next generation just because for funsies, but like I'm not concerned about the next generation of warfighters coming in. I know a lot of people are, but I am not. I've seen these hungry lions just out getting it, and they're smarter than we are. They're stronger, they're more fit. They're not always as focused as we were, but I'm not a very focused person either. So I mean, who am I to who am I to judge? But they're patriotic too, and they love this country, and they're ready to get after it and defend it. I commend that. I think it's awesome.
There's so many things that affect. I mean, there are, like you said, there. every generation thinks the next generation is weaker,
Hmm.
or you didn't have it the way we have it, and I could have handled that a whole lot better than you when I was that age, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there are life cycles to things, and we openly recognize that the greatest generation was produced during the Great Depression,
Hmm.
one of the hardest cycles, one of the lowest points in our nation's history. And what came out of it were tough, gritty, practical men and women who then saved the world.
Hmm.
So, uh, on the bearing that in mind to today, bringing that forward, you've got uh, air conditioning. that's that's in the news today. It's getting really hot out, but United States, we're all air conditioned. It's the Michael Easter uh, comfort crisis thing.
Yeah.
Everything is ergonomically manufactured to keep us on our butts and scrolling.
You're
So, are we, even the economy? Our government, the Treasury, Fed, they tamper with market cycles to even out the highs and lows, right? So, they just kind of print and throw money at it. But I mean, that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're talking here. But are we, by avoiding a Great Depression, are we uh, are we preventing another great uh, generation?
I know that you said that we're going to talk about quotes towards the end, but if you don't mind, I would like to bring one up now because I think it goes with what we're talking about, and that's the hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times kind of thing. And it's it's an interesting thing to me when you start going through the cycle of even the last 120 years, how things have followed that cycle. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, okay, well, things are really easy these days, which I think is why so many people find something, because there's a lot of people, there's a purpose problem right now.
Hmm.
People are lacking purpose. And I think when you lack purpose, you're almost like a radar trying to find something to fix on, and then that you can tie your identity or your purpose to that. And I think if you have something that, like, my purpose is making sure that my family is taken care of and that I'm setting up my children for success. And then if you're going to go professionally, it's to be the best whatever I possibly can be, and to try
Hmm.
and build the next generation to succeed. That's my purpose. So I'm good. Like, I'm not searching for something else. In fact, things pop up and I'm like, God, not another thing. Like, I don't need another hobby. I'll just, like, stay away. But I wonder if because things are so easy now and we're not worried about where our next meal's coming from, or there's danger lurking around the corner. I wonder if that's we're entering the easy time now and things are going to get worse.
That was like one of those major. It was a major investment firm or major legal firm. They have these uh, the crops. They get the cream of the crop from the Ivy Leagues and these big hiring waves, and they when they find uh, when they're hiring, one of the HR guys or one of the partners, you sort out. He would try to predict who would survive in the dog eat dog world that
Hmm.
they're coming into, and one of the identifying factors was how how hard did they have to come to get there. Like, not the silver spoon kids, but maybe the the kid that actually had to struggle to get into Harvard from middle income type of life.
Right.
Uh, if you're scrappy as a kid, you'll be scrappy as an adult, as a professional. So how, if with your perspective, um, and seeing training the next generation, talking to them, uh, how does a kid, how do you maybe with your own your own family, uh, how do you get a kid to become one day an elite warrior, or at least resilient?
Well, man, I'd have to ask my parents on on that one, but I I don't think that everybody. If everybody could do it, then everybody would potentially, right? Or there would be a lot more. Whether it's um, massively successful entrepreneurs to military leaders to special operations, like if everybody could do it or everybody could be that as good, then it'd be filled with these heroes that we know, right? um so not everybody can do it, and that's okay. Like if that's not your calling, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't mean that you're any less, or that should just go bury your head in the sand and not do anything. You can absolutely provide great things to society and to your own kids, your own family, and press on and be successful. How to make them, though, I think is they I think showing, and this is going to sound sappy, right? But I think showing love, and I don't mean love as in coddling somebody. I mean, if you if you knew that your kid was going towards a plug on the a wall socket with a knife or a fork, um, you would probably, like in a rush, slap the crap out of that kid, whether it's in the face, not in the face, but like slap the knife or the fork out of their hand and go, "What are you doing, dude? Like, are you like this can really, really hurt you? Am I showing more love by doing that? Am I showing more love by going like, all right, well, he's going to learn today, and then get zapped by that thing, or going, hey, little Johnny, don't do that, buddy, don't do that. Like I tend to think that, hey, there is a certain amount that you need to let them feel some kind of pain or lesson learned. Like, hey, that stove is hot. Don't touch that stove. That stove is hot, and then they're going to do it. That's one thing. Sticking sticking a knife into a socket, that could cause some serious damage. So there's a wavelength there that I'm probably going to slap that knife out of their hand and go, dude, what are you doing? Like that's my kind of. So I
I
don't know.
think it
I
was
ran.
a I think it was a Chris Titus stand up where he was actually impersonating his own dad, uh, while Chris himself was a baby or kid or whatever, sticking a fork in the outlet,
uh,
and his mom would like make a move to stop him, and his dad would just go, "Wait, he's only he's only going to do this once."
definitely only do it once. I guess it depends on where you're at too, because like my kids grew up mostly in the UK, and that's so those wall sockets are 220 volts versus the ones in the US that are 110
Mm.
volts. So that's a big difference in
Hmm.
shock.
Hmm. But that's one of those things where you want to protect. You are the protector,
Mhm.
but you can't shield them, right? You gotta let it. There's kind of a balance. Like, how
Right?
much do you let them learn? And there's so much to learn from pain. It's chock full of information.
Oh yeah, you're exactly right. And I mean, how um how much did you learn when you were a kid and going off and just riding bikes with your friends and not coming home until the lights were on? And yeah, you're probably getting into a little bit of mischief, right? And that's kind
Mm.
of to be expected, and maybe some big mischief, maybe not. But, uh, I learned so much just hanging out with my friends and having conversations and getting into a little bit of trouble than I did, in school. And but at the same time, like in school, take the academics out of it. I learned so much just my interpersonal skills, dealing with conflict and stuff like that. Like I think there's a place for that as
Mm.
well.
Yeah, well, my neighborhood thinks my kids are. I've got twins, 7-year-old that are the neighborhood thinks they're like these feral little towhead uh, animals, running amok around the neighborhood.
Free
Yeah, like
range
just
chickens.
if they come to your door, just shoo them off with a broom. You're okay. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
They don't
give them,
bite.
yell at them, whatever.
But you said it. It was in training and the elite, the special forces. Yeah, it's so much of it comes down to you said in training 80% mental.
Hmm.
So is did for you was that upbringing was how much was it experience in training in in active duty? How much did you pick up along the way?
In, I mean, I do think that some of it happened, during my upbringing. I do think, I mean, there's no way that it couldn't, right? Um, I honestly think that I just survived and I just outlasted. Like, there's, I didn't have, everybody talks about having a why and stuff like that. Like, I didn't have a why. I didn't have anything. I, as I've reflected on this, I think I just survived. I really did. And yeah, I learned things along the way. And then I realized how I can make myself better and how I can make my mentality stronger and stuff like that. But it's, man, I just survived and just happened to outlast
Hmm.
a lot of people. That's it, in my opinion, anyway. And like I said, that's not to take anything away from my upbringing, because for sure that had a lot to do with it. Um, but I didn't struggle as a kid. I didn't get everything I wanted for sure, but um, I never I never got beats or anything like that. My parents kind of let me do what I wanted to, and if I got in trouble, I got disciplined, and there we go. It wasn't
Hmm.
anything crazy. I really wish I could point to a certain instance that was like, dude, this was a defining moment for me and changed the trajectory, because there isn't really one, or at least I haven't thought long enough. Because uh, 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 I don't know how your memory is, but mine's fleeting at times. There's a lot of stuff that I have forgotten that my parents or my wife or my kids will bring up, and I'm like, yeah, I don't remember a single bit of that at all.
Where did the nickname come from?
So last name is Pietras, and during selection, it is a lot easier to yell peaches than it is Pietras, and considering special operations and going to that, peaches seems a little bit demeaning and feminine. So they did that, and instead of being pissy pants about it, I embraced
Mm.
it and was like, yeah, cool, I'm peaches. And then, now as I'm older, everybody's like, why are you still using it? Well, it's because whenever I meet somebody, you can forget their name really quick.
It
And
sticks.
yeah, it sticks, and it usually generates some kind of conversation. And it's like, yeah, I'll stick with that.
Yeah, yeah, and you own it, right? So yeah, that was like me. They kind of shortened Aaron Hale to a hole.
Yeah,
So
I
so
dig
I
that.
own that.
Yeah. Hey, I embrace the hell out of that.
By the way, speaking of names, you've got a Wyatt too, right? One of the
Yep.
twins is a Wyatt. Uh, I I tried getting my wife to agree to naming the twins Ian and Xavier, so I could have an Ian and X Hale. Uh, but when she figured it out, she wouldn't go for it.
Like, absolutely not.
It would be so awesome. That would be epic. Not doing it. So we landed on Owen and Wyatt. So at least I got an OH out of it.
There you go. Yeah. I originally wanted to name him something like something Nordic, like Thor or Stieg or something like that. And
Mm,
so we ended up going after the Wyatt Earp uh, name. So
hmm One of the worst is when it doesn't matter how middle of the road the name is, when somebody wants to change the spelling so it's just really unique. uh I've met an Anferny.
like with an F kind of thing.
Anferny, uh instead of Anthony.
Yep.
All sorts of weird spellings for something so simple.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's all kinds of spins on different stuff, and I'm sure I can't imagine how many times you've heard Aaron.
The what?
How many times you've heard Aaron?
No, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's a funny sketch.
Oh, it's
But yeah,
fantastic.
I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
So you came in right at 9/11, right?
Well, it was
You
99.
was that?
It was 1999, so I had 2 years in before, but it was all pipeline. Like I wasn't on a team yet or anything.
Well, I actually enlisted in '99 too.
There you go.
So but my pipeline for Navy cook was a lot shorter. Uh, I was at my first duty station in Italy. It was close of business. It was like 4 in the afternoon, and I turn on, I think it was like CNN on the TV in my shop, and I'm watching one of the towers smoke. And I thought it was a movie. I'm like, "Wait, no, this is CNN. What was that moment, like that moment for you? You were in the pipeline. You were in training,
Yeah. So I
but you were
was,
you were in time of peace first.
yeah, yeah. So it happened, and I was at Hurlburt Field in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, at the gym. And at the time they just have the tube TVs up in the corner, kind of thing, and they would always have CNN on. Like it was the only thing that was on CNN. And so we're working out, and then we see, hey, a plane hit the first or whichever number tower it was, but it hit the first plane hit, and everybody, to include myself, was just like, oh yeah, some idiot's flying a Cessna, some private little Cessna plane just happened to, he messed up and hit the tower. It wasn't a big thing. And then as we're watching it, you could see all the news helicopters flying around. All of a sudden you see this other one just smack it and blow right through, and you're like, oh,
Hmm
this is not just some commuter little plane or Cessna that smacked into this thing. This is something different. So basically, the entire gym cleared out, and everybody went and reported into work, and um, and then it was like, okay, what kind of intel briefs can we get? There was extra security that everybody was pulling around the base because nobody knew what else was going to happen. Um, and then we started going, okay, well, we don't know what's happening next in terms of what the orders will be, but let's start preparing, like getting kit ready to go so that we can blow out. But me being still in training, we were just helping the guys pack up, get whatever they can. Now they let us in intel briefs and stuff like that, so we kind of knew what was going on, but we weren't going to be allowed to go anywhere because we were still students. But we helped the first wave of dudes get out the door, and then I was ended up on the second wave later on in that September of, I guess it would have been September of '02.
Way to ease into it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah, I
we put
knew the. I literally, when I told my mom that I was enlisting in the Navy, I said, I'm going into the Navy. I'm going to be a cook, miles away from, like battles on the, in the desert. I mean,
mhm.
at sea. Um, and a couple years later, I'm cooking in a DFAC in Farah, Afghanistan. And then I volunteered. Then I switched to Army EOD. So
When were you in,
it was like a
when were
bait
you
and
in
switch.
yeah, no kidding. When were you in Farah?
That was 06, 07.
Okay, cool. Alright. I mean, dude, I only went to Farah one time, and that was in 2002, and there was nothing there. I mean, it was just a dirt airfield and a couple of little calots, and that was it.
Yeah.
Because I went in
Yeah.
there and I did the survey for the dirt strip there, and yeah.
That, by the way, the landing strip, it 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 blew out so many tires.
Oh yeah,
I think they were picking up like 50 cal rounds or something. But we would have. And there was also the fact that my chow hall had grown kind of a reputation for being a great place to eat for a fob.
oh
So all these air crews would be down for maintenance like all the time. It was like, kind of like it was like Ramstein.
oh yeah, yeah.
Before all, it's like every time we fly through there, we get a week of just hanging around waiting for some kind of part to come in. Like, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Well,
Before the deployment starts, and these guys would blow, like, pop a tire, delivering our FF&V, fresh fruits and vegetables, and kind of hang out, enjoy the food, um, the sunny desert lifestyle. But
yeah.
we definitely built that place out from a couple of calots. Uh, and it was actually expanding pretty quick when I left.
Jeez.
Anyhow,
Nuts.
it's that was it was a really boring place. It's way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Uh, Nothing to do except get into trouble.
Yeah. And the last thing you want is a bunch of soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, with idle hands and bored off their ass because some things are going to get broken and some things are going to go down just because we're bored.
That's when I got into homebrewing.
See?
Did I say that? Anyhow, that's the truth.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I'm sure. Probably
and
9%.
I had a couple of Mister Beer kegs, little plastic football kegs,
Yeah.
going in the chow kitchen. Uh, Back to something serious. Through you talked about, that mindset and resilience and fortitude and being able to keep going when others quit. But there's a flip side of that. When are you just kind of putting yourself through additional suffering? When do you know that, like, there's guys that just kind of constantly beating themselves, banging their head against a wall. So when do you know the difference between, sticking it out and knowing when it's time to quit or at least pivot?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because there are definitely things that I've like. I don't agree with the whole. Yeah, I've never quit anything, and I won't quit. I for sure have quit things, or pivoted. Which and I don't know. It's kind of like you see everybody sees what's on social media, and everybody sees the final product, and they don't see all the failures. And there's that fork in the road that's, hey, the path this way and the path this way, and then all of a sudden somebody just walks that path and there they go, they made it. And in reality, that path is all kinds of switchbacks and uphills, downhills, and you know, road washouts and everything like that, because it's not a quick and simple, easy process. And you're right. At what point do you go, I've got to pivot and I've got to go a different direction? And I think it depends on what it is. If
Hmm.
man, I that is a difficult question to answer. And
I
because
think.
they're
Thank you.
probably, yeah, there are probably things that I'm still doing now that I probably should have stopped doing or pivoted years ago.
Hmm.
And there's probably things that I stopped doing where I should have just persevered and continued to do it. And now, boom, I'd have whatever it is, X, Y, and Z, or I'd be doing X, Y, and Z now. Now, it's, I don't, I don't know what the right answer is for something and for someone.
I think there was Stephen Covey wrote a book. Uh, what was it called? 3 Feet from Gold. There's a story of a Colorado or not mountain gold miner or prospector.
Uh,
He didn't mine a whole lot of gold. He gave up and sold off his mine, and the next owner, he kind of hired an engineer, geological engineer, and realized that there was like shift in the you know formation of the
mhm.
earth. The guy dug 3 more feet and found one of the largest gold deposits in history.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
so of course, are you Dabney or something like that? Uh, he he was the guy who quit 3 feet from gold,
Three
and
feet old.
but the thing is, he actually, I mean, he didn't become. I don't think he become nearly as rich, but he had a very successful life selling insurance. Uh, but every time, a potential customer said no, or he ran into a challenge in the rest of his life, he would always he wouldn't quit, because his mantra for the rest of his life was, "I quit 3 feet from gold, so I'm not going to do that again."
Yeah. I mean, it's so true because you never know. Um, y it's kind of why I pick up, even though I get tons of spam phone calls, I always pick up the phone because I have so many people have my phone number that I don't know who's calling. So I always pick up the phone. If if there's an invite that's extended to me, in whether it's to attend something or come on somebody's podcast, something like that, I always say yes, because you never know who you're going to meet, what kind of amazing conversation you're going to have, or opportunities that open up. And it's not that I'm always, searching and trying to get something out of somebody. It's just more of like, hey, if I can expand my network and I am able to help somebody else out, or maybe they're able to help me out, or we can work together to help someone else out. I,
Mhm.
I, I just think it's goodness there.
That's it's one of those things. Like, you could always, then you're always on the lookout. Like, okay,
Mhm.
I could be 3 feet from gold. I'm just gonna take it. We're just gonna keep going a little bit further, and
Yeah,
that's like, my let's power of one more. And you just keep trying. And your example, saying yes, I was just flashed to the Jim Carrey movie.
yeah,
Yeah, yes, Matt. Yes.
yeah. It's the it's important to keep going. And yeah, it is. I agree in terms of, hey, there are certain times where you need to pivot and stuff like that, but it is better, I think, to keep going on something that is struggling than it is to just kind of quit altogether. It's okay to put something on the back burner a little bit, and
Hmm.
it can just be back there kind of staying warm. To quit something altogether, though, I think it's tough.
I think people are so afraid of failing that They won't. They'll give themselves the excuse to not try,
Yeah,
or they might be getting close to that success, and maybe they're sometimes maybe even afraid to succeed. So, what do you what separates those who what are the characteristics of those who just continue? They don't mind the failure, or they've accepted it. Is it something is it experience? Is it wisdom? Is there something else?
it's probably a mixture of all of that. I think it's a matter of self confidence too. I mean, like nobody enjoys failing. Nobody sets out to fail, right? Like the men's World Cup team, USA yesterday, performed exceptionally considering the cards that they were dealt. Um, and, and they didn't give up. They didn't stop. They're down to 10 men because somebody got a red card, which you could make the argument that that should not have happened. But and they came out and they scored another goal, and so they didn't quit. They didn't give up, and I think that that's part of that characteristic that we're looking for, is somebody that against all odds will just keep going, and having that kind of self-confidence I also think tells you, hey, it's okay to fail, it's okay to embarrass yourself. Like one of the examples is with our podcast, I do the editing and I don't edit very much. Like when I misspeak, or Aaron or Trent misspeak, or we say something stupid, or I lose. My audience knows that I will lose track and a train of thought, and I'll just go rant, and then I can't find my way back to the topic, which I've already done a couple times during this one. But it it see, I mean, it just happened again.
I think I think speaking of Team USA, I think I heard they haven't made it to the semifinals of the World Cup since 1930.
That's
So
probably about right. Yeah. I think yesterday was the farthest they had made it, or furthest they had made it in an extremely long time. And now, like, even more. It's fantastic, and it's great. I'm so I I just went to the Hoover Dam 2 days ago, and they've got a display there for America's 250th birthday. And the amount of patriotism that has been flowing through Americans the last couple of weeks,
mhm.
uh, through now, is so amazing, and I love to see it. And then to throw on top the men's USA team just absolutely crushing it,
Mhm.
just beaming with pride. It's awesome.
I also love the fact that we've got people from around the world coming to visit, and they're experiencing it too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that they're they're experiencing what's so great about America and Americans. And you don't see that in the news. You don't see it
no,
in social media. Uh, that doesn't get nearly as many clicks as
no,
the rage bait stuff.
no,
So
no. It definitely doesn't get it. That's what's kind of wild to me too, is how negativity online is what does clicks, and what gets people
mhm,
fired up. They're like, hey, you realize you were all of this internal strife and all of this internal, like, just spinning is all because you're chasing the negativity. And if you could just rewire your brain and avoid that, and instead of think that people are out to get you, or people are malicious or something like that, is just, hey, it just happens to be a coincidence, or it happens to be, hey, they just have a different perspective than you based off of the way they were raised and their own experiences.
mhm.
It's not that they're just anti you, or just like think that you're completely idiot. Of course there are some out there, but I don't know, I just try and have a positive mental attitude and a positive mental outlook on life and people.
And it's the algorithms, the formulas behind social media. They are designed to just build controversy. Uh,
Mhm.
I've done it. I'm guilty of it myself. I'll post the inspirational stuff, the productivity stuff, the the cute kitty videos. I don't have any cats, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, I'll throw out something that's a little, controversial, a little politics, and the so-called kitten videos. They don't get. It just disappears.
Yeah.
Nothing, no movement. But
Mhm.
man, I'll get tens of thousands of views and hundreds of comments on something politics based.
Yeah.
It's not that anybody in my circles are more interested in talking more politics. It's just what gets promoted, what gets pushed up on the feed.
You're absolutely right, and for us, it's the same exact way. If we try, I'd say 98% of our stuff is all positive and self help and education and stuff like that.
Hmm.
The other 2%, when we're trying to hold Air Force leadership accountable or whatever, it's not. It may not be negative, but it's definitely not the oh everything's great, don't worry about it. It's not that. And it's amazing the difference in views and clicks. Like it's crazy. And we're just feeding that. I mean, people are looking for it. I mean, that's what some of these reality
Hmm.
TV shows are, is just the drama of it. And they're like, well, I love watching this stuff because it makes my life seem tame. And it's like, it's all fake. It's fake.
Hmm. But but this kind of comes full circle to uh, our environment infecting who we are and our generation. And you know there was that book Anxious Generation, talking about uh, the generation that was the millennials that um, went through puberty right around 2007,
Mm.
2010, when the iPhone and then Facebook came out, and how anxious we all of a sudden became. And that that affects who we are as people. How much, it's said time and time throughout history, what we consume, you know, what we eat and what we read are what we become.
Yes.
And
Garbage in, garbage out.
what are we consuming on a day-to-day basis for hours? Is this rage, anger,
Yep.
and then anxiety and controversy and conspiracy. We're distrustful, we're upset, we're depressed, anxious, and it's uh, I try to keep myself off of the Facebook best I can. Without I still gotta promote the show.
Right.
I still gotta I still do it anyways. I'll scroll. I try to be more of a contributor than a consumer, right? Creator versus consumer. But I still, by the end of it, don't feel better. Just
Yeah.
going through the scroll and even seeing others that are having so much trouble. So I don't know. I don't know. What do we do? What do
Yeah.
we do?
I don't know, because obviously, I mean, you said it. You've got to promote the show. You've got to, I'm sure any kind of merchandise sales, you're promoting on social media, and
Merchandising.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like social media is the reality now. Not that what is on social media is a reality. I'm talking about
Mm,
the use case of social media on connecting people, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts,
mm,
selling things, that kind of stuff. So it's a reality, and I don't think it's going anywhere, and I don't necessarily think it should go anywhere. But you know, I a, there's a lot of controversy on Elon Musk buying X or buying Twitter, right, and turning it into X. and kind of letting anything goes on there, which I tend to like because I don't want things like on Instagram and Facebook and even YouTube being throttled or being censored or anything like that, because then that gives somebody the opportunity to misinform you and shape the narrative that's going out there. And we don't get our news from Fox News or some of these other places anymore. At least I don't anyway. Most of my news is from social media.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's good or not, I don't know, because we already know that the big main news channels also are compromised. So
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I just
Tell me about the show.
yeah. So we have the One's Ready podcast, and we started it up in 2019 to try and get information out about Air Force Special Warfare, and um, it's it's slow growing, right? But we enjoy it so much. Gives us the chance to talk, like the three of us. Um, one of the things that people, when they retire, they if they don't have a tribe to connect to and continue to reintegrate into, that
Mm-hmm.
they can end up lost and they don't have that purpose. The podcast is as much of it as a benefit for all the potential candidates or people that are listening to it to get the information. It's fantastic for Aaron, Trent, and I, because we're able to just three friends just reconnect on a regular basis and just BS. Sometimes it's about stuff serious, and other times it's not. And so it's good for us. But yeah, we're on YouTube, Instagram, X, couple. We're starting to put stuff on Rumble as well, and then we have a website, onesready.com.
And what about this operator training summit? What's it about?
Yeah, so we started that up, and we added a couple more people into that as well. So there's a active duty PJ, then there's a strength and conditioning coach. We call him the mad scientist because he was an Olympic athlete and just a phenomenal human being. So yeah, we go around to certain areas and train people on, and it's not a hell week or a hell day or anything like that. Like we're not yelling at people. We're not doing that kind of thing. That there are other people that do that, and that's fine. But we try and teach people how to properly move in the water, how to properly do push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, so that they're not training incorrectly. Because a lot of these folks, they don't have personal trainers, they don't have strength and conditioning coaches that they can go to. They're kind of doing a lot of this stuff on their own because they're in high school. So we
Mm-hmm.
try and teach them the correct way to do things so that they can train properly to increase their chances of succeeding in the pipeline. And it goes back to that 80% mental, 20% physical. If we can get them to a point where 20% is physical and they don't need to worry about that because they've got it locked down, they're not worried about their physical stuff, then that frees up some bandwidth for them to focus on the mental aspect.
And the physical can translate to the mental.
Absolutely.
It's the quickest shortcut, or one of them, right?
Hmm.
If you can, it's literally doing hard things, right? Picking up weights, doing more push-ups, getting a little bit further each time.
Yep.
And
Pushing your body farther than you thought you could.
I I signed up for my first marathon. Actually, registered for four of them within the span of 4 months before having run anything longer than a 10K.
Really?
Uh, I wouldn't recommend that, but I started. I started training, and I just added more until I'm doing ultra marathons and running Badwater and running across Kenya to Kilimanjaro. It you can, I mean, not to brag,
No,
but
that's tough.
it's doing it. It's just doing it every day. It's just, how do you run across Death Valley? You get on a treadmill first,
Yeah.
right? you not when you're blind you don't want to like lace up and just step out the front door.
Yeah.
But you at least find a running partner. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's
One step at a time, right? That's how
yeah.
you.
You
That's how
put in
you.
the reps.
Yep.
And that experience is proof. Well, I think it's a really good place to switch into the final segment, the countdown
Yeah.
to impact. And this is three, two, one. Three books, two quotes, and one person who have all made an impact in your life.
Okay. Um, Three books. I would say "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. Um, "Why We Sleep" by Matt Walker or Matthew Walker. He focuses on everything sleep, and I that is the one thing that people neglect
Mm,
right now. Right, everybody's looking for a a pill or a shot that'll help your performance and your cognitive ability and all that kind of stuff. And the magic
mm,
pill, if they could, is sleep. That really is what it is. Um, and then I'd probably say like Atomic Habits, by James. Oh, I
Clear.
forget his last name, but Atomic Habits is a good one as well.
James
So
Clear.
there you go. You got it. I'm sure you've heard that one before then.
I was gonna tell you about that sleep too. That I'm immune to blue light, so I don't get affected by the screen time.
But that's a big thing. Like people will hop in bed and scroll on their phone, and I'm like, dude, no, keep that thing away from you. For ideally several hours before even going to bed. It's
Mm,
not that realistic these days, because so many people are working from their phones or their computers. So you know,
hmm
yeah, don't sit
So
in bed.
two quotes.
Two quotes, and I've got to read it because I'll always mess it up. But it's the out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't even be there. 80 are just
Mhm.
targets. Nine are the real fighters, and we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. But the one is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. So I've always liked that one a lot. Um, and then this one is kind of weird because we didn't talk about this at all, but uh, I think it relates to these days, and as quick as social media it is to paint people as guilty of doing stuff. But Benjamin Franklin once said, "It is better to have 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer." And so I can relate to that. Why I like that quote, I don't know, and why I picked that quote, I couldn't tell you other than I believe it, and I've seen a lot of people kind of get tagged as being guilty of doing something and automatically just social media is the judge, jury, and executioner, and they were either falsely accused or misunderstood. So that's why I threw that out there. And then for a person, um, man, I would I'd probably just throw out my dad out there. Really, he was a fantastic provider, fantastic father. He taught me everything that I know about being a dad. And if I am half as good of a dad as he was, then I'm doing pretty good, because I missed the mark a lot. And so yeah, that's what I would put.
Awesome. All right, last two questions. One, where can people find out more?
People can go over to onesready.com or operatortrainingsummit.com. You can find me over on Instagram at onesready or at CCT Peaches. And then you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts at One's Ready.
All right. And last question. Uh, What's your definition of living a life of impact?
Uh, I think being a good husband, a good father is probably the most important thing that I have ever done or will ever do. And we talked about earlier building the next generation. Well, the most important thing in my life is making sure that I raise from kids to productive and selfless adults, and just good humans of character. So that's what I'd leave you with.
Awesome. Well, brother, it was terrific getting to speak with you today. I appreciate you sharing your time and your experience.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.